Hello everyone, it is prompt number 154. Let's get into drawing our ant on the backside because I feel like it. I've not recovered from that horrible worm, but I'll survive. Okay, let's see what number 154 is. I forgot to mark it, but here we are. We've got 4 claws, beekeeper, coins, and watermelon. I mean, what's there to say? That is quite an assortment of objects and things. Okay, sketch time. I'm always a little bit nervous when it comes to the 4-word prompts because obviously there's a lot to cram into one drawing and to make them all fit together, but we push forward. So I started off by sketching some really simple doodles of each prompt. Claws, very comically cartoon, I guess, cat paw with claws coming out of it. Beekeeper, I don't know why I immediately started to think about a bear beekeeper. I mean, obviously I know that there's this stereotype that bears like to eat honey, but why did I draw a bear beekeeper? I don't know. I had bears on the mind. Maybe it was because of the claws. I drew some coins and a watermelon. Those are pretty basic. So then I moved on to the brainstorming, and immediately, like I said, I was already combining beekeeper and bear to make the claws prompt. We have a very cute beekeeper bear in costume holding up a, what are they called? A tray of honeycomb, I guess. Dripping, all goopy with bees, but there was no coins involved. But I just wanted to get some ideas out of my head to start brainstorming. Maybe some simple sketches that didn't have all of the prompts in them were really cute. I could find ways to incorporate all of the prompts. Oh yeah, I also didn't include watermelon. So then I drew a bear eating a watermelon, pretty cute, but it is just a head of a bear floating there and a bee flying around holding a coin. So at this point I was thinking, okay, maybe the bees are selling the watermelons. Bees do need plants to make their honey, so maybe these bees are also growing watermelons and they sell honey and watermelons, and you know, they have this whole thing going, I don't know. So taking from that idea, I drew a bear standing in a field of watermelons. Maybe at this point I'm thinking the bear's the beekeeper, so in exchange for the bees giving the bear honey to sell, the bees also sell the you know what, maybe I don't know what's going on. I did think that really cute, like chibi bear standing there with a bee holding a coin was very cute. And I wanted to go somewhere with these bees taking money from the bear. I just wasn't sure how. The concept of these bees selling watermelon honey, I guess, was in my brain, but I wasn't sure with an exact idea that I wanted to go with. Nothing was solid, but I did have some ideas coming through, and I knew that I could get somewhere if I just played around with it a little bit more. So as usual, as I do these days, I went to my iPad for some more cleaner sketching because as much as I love traditional art, when it comes to sketching, it's just so much cleaner to do it digitally. So once again, when I went to my iPad, there weren't even multiple ideas. It was the first thing I drew, just like the last prompt. In my head, I had the idea of this bear standing there from the perspective of this bear towering over you. Am I the best at perspectives? Absolutely not. Am I trying? Sure. So I initially drew this bear standing there holding coins, passing them off to a bee, and I thought it would be cute if more bees were carrying the coins because I really liked the doodles of the bees carrying the coins in the prompt book. I drew a bunch of bees flying around the bear because it was super cute. I'd also thought about giving the bees like a comb, Q-tip, makeup, maybe lipstick, as if they were pampering the bear, and that's what the bear was paying the bees to do, to pamper him or dress him up in some way. But I just thought that was a little too on the nose. It was just too obvious to what the bees were doing. I kind of liked having this mystery of what is the bear buying? It's drugs. And at this point I was thinking, okay, but what about beekeeper and watermelon? I threw some watermelons in this field of grass, even though I know watermelons probably wouldn't be growing in a field of grass, probably more like a field of dirt. But I really liked this bushy grass and I didn't want to just do brown dirt. So we have a field of watermelons, why not? In the background, our beekeeper with one single beehive thing, looking at the bear like, what the hell am I witnessing? Is that a bear giving coins to a bee? Are the bees carrying the coins away? What is happening here? So once I had my idea down, it was time to trace. It is such an easy process once I get my sketch cleaned up and perfect to just put a piece of paper over my iPad screen and trace what I have. If you have an iPad, I would highly recommend it. It makes things so much easier, especially if you are more used to digital art. This is definitely, I think, an easy way to go between traditional and digital art. If you're just not used to going full traditional, definitely give this a try. I will say though, this was a lot harder to trace than it was in the last prompt. The last prompt, I for some reason thought I could see my sketch, or rather the pencil I was putting down on the paper, a lot easier, because this time I could hardly see what I was doing. I know, I struggled for the arts, but we got it done. And I had my pencil and it was time to start painting. Now, my approach for this piece, I don't know what it is, but when I saw this piece, I saw it lineless. I saw bold colors and I didn't see ink line art. Y'all know my basics. I like to put down a nice ink line art and then paint. But this time I just felt like, you know what I never do? I never try to do lineless work with watercolor. So I wanted to try. It's obviously very difficult. Watercolor can bleed. It's super transparent, so you have to be very mindful of accidentally or purposefully painting over other layers. And as you can see from my bear, oh boy, I was set into an immediate panic with this piece. I love a nice, clean, flat wash. Y'all know that. This bear, I thought I had watered down the watercolor a lot more than I had, but when I was painting around the bees and all the small details, I could not keep up with the drying watercolor, and there's just so much texture on this bear that I did not want. But I sat on it and I told myself to just chill, just calm down. I was so tempted to restart this piece, but I convinced myself to really embrace the textures and the mistakes and everything that comes with watercolor for this lineless piece. I wanted it to look purposeful, but I wanted it to look not like someone who wasn't super concerned about being a perfectionist made this piece, which is very hard for me to let go, but I'm trying. That being said, I immediately regretted the order in which I paint things. I always start with the background and move forward, but my idiot brain was just so panicked about doing this lineless and making it look perfect that I completely forgot to do the sky first, and I had so many small details to paint around. The bees were bleeding. I had to carefully paint around everything. It was a mistake, but I pushed through. So when it came to the shading of this piece, I did want to keep things simple, as I do with most of my art, because I wanted to paint in a lineless style, or at least as few lines as possible, because I knew I was going to need some line work. I wanted there to be bold, big, flat shapes and shades of color just to make sure that things were separated. And I was imagining like paper cutout art with the fewer colors and bolder pieces. It would make sure that everything was nice and separate from each other. So I barely did shading. I was definitely out of my comfort zone for this piece, but I really, really wanted to try this. And it's something that I feel like I would like to keep experimenting with. Things really started to come together when I put the black on the bees, of course. And that's when I started to add some line work here and there with the black paint. The mouth of the bear, the nose, the eye, and just adding little lines here and there that I felt like were needed to help separate some sections. I so badly wanted to bust out my colored pencils, but I gotta be honest, I love colored pencils. I hate sharpening my colored pencils, and I hate that the lead is just always pre-broken and I'm sharpening and sharpening. Oh, the lead fell out. So I feel like this piece would have looked so much better with colored pencils, but I just wasn't in the mood to deal with colored pencils, so I risked it with bleeding watercolor. It turned out okay. You can definitely get a lot smaller details with a brush, so I guess there's that. Better control for sure. I did add some texture lines to the bear's arm. I thought it would be really beneficial because this was a lineless style to add textures and patterns and lines, but I don't know, I started to put the lines down and I was like, oh, this is not a vibe, nope. But it was too late, so the bear just has very hairy arms. And you know what, good for him. All that was left at this point was the details of the watermelon, the stripes, maybe line work, shading. I kept it simple. It's a little different from my usual style, but I had a lot of fun experimenting. I'm getting an idea of how to approach something like this in the future. Definitely needs some more practice. And there we have it. We have our bear buying drugs from bees. What is this bear buying? I feel like he would definitely be buying drugs. These bees are definitely making drugs in a different hive somewhere aware that the beekeeper has no idea about. Yes, drugs. Absolutely, it's drugs.
No.
Last week's prompt, we had ice cream cone and corn on the cob, and I am so happy to see so many of you coming back to the prompts. Yes, we are back. I am back. The prompts are back, and you guys are back. Look at all these prompts. But look how creative these are. You guys had so much more room to be creative. We've got witches, we've got ice cream and corn people. Look at that ice cream hair. Don't forget to use hashtag Kasey the Prompt or hashtag Kasey the Prompt 154 for our upcoming prompt. I want to see what you guys can do with claws, beekeeper coins, and watermelon. Good luck, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
No.